All right, so welcome back. In chapter 12, we've gone over a lot of different reactions of alcohols and phenols. Remember, we've gone over how to reactions of alcohols and how to make alcohols and reactions of phenols. Um, Now, one of the things that we need to start thinking about is then incorporating those things into uh, how thinking about how we make different molecules. And so, if you kind of think about it, we're at the point now where we can think of reactions as falling into one of two categories. One where it was reactions that change the carbon skeleton, or reactions that are changing a functional group. Um, a lot of the reactions we've gone over are changing a functional group, but we've gone over a number of reactions where we change the carbon skeleton. Things like the Diels-Alder reaction, or the electrocyclization, or the sigmatropic rearrangement, or the addition of carbon nucleophiles to, or hydride, or the addition of carbon nucleophiles to aldehydes and ketones. Those are changing the carbon skeleton, right? Like you're changing the way the carbons are attached to each other. But a lot of reactions are also involved in changing functional groups, right? So notice if you look down at the bottom there, what we have going on here are ways to convert between different functional groups, right? So I can start from an alkyne, reduce with Lindlar's to get to the alkene, and then reduce with, and you could either use Lindlar's or the sodium ammonia reaction to reduce to the alkene. Use hydrogen, do a hydrogenation to go to the alkane. Or you could go backwards, right? You could brominate and eliminate. You could brominate and eliminate to make that the alkyne. So we're just kind of interconverting between different functional groups. And then here we can also think about interconverting between from alcohols to aldehydes, right? Or alcohols to ketones, or even alcohols to carboxylic acids. These are functional group transformations, right? So the point here is to keep in mind that when you see these molecules, that you can keeping in mind that you know ways to interconvert between these, either going from here to here or from here to here. The same thing here, right? Like if you see an aldehyde, if you're thinking about like, well, how do I make aldehydes or ketones? Well, one of the ways the big way we know how to make aldehydes and ketones, they're coming from alcohols, right? And then once we have this aldehyde or ketone, we now know we can do a myriad of, we can do a bunch of different reactions with them. We can reduce with either hydride or the Grignard reagent. And so one of the things to keep in mind is that we can interconvert between different functional groups via oxidation or reduction reactions, right? So for example, to go from the alkane to the alkene to the alkyne, that's an oxidation, right? Or to go from the alkane to the alkyl halide or the alcohol, those are all oxidations. So we can go here, and now to go from here is, we can do an oxidation, and then we can actually interconvert between these functional groups in this box, right? Here, so I can go from an alkene to an alcohol. I can go from an alcohol to here. I can go from here to here. I can also go from here to here. We can also reduce these functional groups, so I can reduce alkynes to alkenes, alkenes to alkanes. I can reduce ketones and aldehydes to alcohols, and then these can be interconverted to the alkyl halides. So at this point, what you want to be starting to do is you want to be kind of starting to understand is like, and answering the question of like, when you see a certain functional group, what are all the different ways you know to make that functional group? And they might involve a functional group transformation or a rearrangement of the carbon skeleton. And so then this is just another map of ways you can kind of interconvert between different molecules, right? So this is just kind of, if you kind of sit down and look at it, this is a nice little overview for you to kind of work from to start incorporating all of these reactions into your working memory. And then we can also, the big thing from this chapter, one of the big things is that we can start making carbon-carbon bonds via the Grignard reagent, right? So if you see an alcohol, thinking about like you can make this bond by adding a Grignard reagent to this ketone. Or I could also make this bond technically in the form of a Grignard reagent adding to a ketone. So keeping in mind that we can start making carbon-carbon bonds if you see an alcohol starting from a ketone or an aldehyde or an ester and a Grignard reagent. Now, there's no way to convert an aldehyde to a ketone directly, but you can do it through the Grignard reagent. You can take an aldehyde, attack with the Grignard reagent, and then do an oxidation. So if you see a ketone, one of the ways you can, so we already know that we could make the ketone by oxidation of the alcohol. Well, if I see the alcohol, I can make this alcohol by addition of a Grignard reagent to this aldehyde. So take an aldehyde, add this Grignard reagent, followed by water. That makes this alcohol here. So if I take the Grignard reagent, add it, and so R minus, that is going to attack this carbonyl here, kick up. That's going to make O minus. That's going to protonate off the water to make the alcohol. And then that alcohol will be oxidized to give you the ketone. Okay. So try some of the problems where after you feel very comfortable of being able to come up with products of different reactions, try to start coming up with, start trying to do the problems at the end of the chapter involved with coming up with syntheses of different molecules. Thanks for listening. Have a great day, and let me know if you have, or wherever, whenever you're listening to this, and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.